This is our first show for June 2014, and boy, this week we really got some rain and wind, and you can tell winter in the far south here has arrived. It was quite cool, not as cold as it was in Santiago. I understand it got down pretty close to freezing, and there's lots of snow in the mountains, especially down south, a lot of snow. But up here, or out here on the coast, a little bit northwest of Santiago, it was cool and felt really chilly because of the humidity. Anyway, we have a good show today because we have a special guest, Luke Crowley, who's here to talk about his experiences in Chile, and we're glad he's joined us for that, and we'll get to him as soon as possible. Also want to hit on a few things that are happening about Chile that should be of interest. But one thing has to do with our amazing race rally we're going to make an announcement about today. Some other stuff I want to talk about is Valparaiso, the killed city, as well as some of Simon Black's great comments in his article that came out on Wednesday. There's a few other things going on about the corruption index and the rules for the residency program that we provide, and I want to give you an update on all of these things as well as I can today. Again, any question or comment, you can send it to chileadvisorygroup@gmail.com. That's chileadvisorygroup@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out the website, escapeamericanow.info. Escapeamericanow.info has all the resources, like my 2 books on Chile, as well as other blog entries and things that can be very helpful, even links to other sites, to help you get informed about Chile and be prepared to really hit the bricks running when you get here. Once again, we welcome those questions and comments, and I'll try to hit those as much as I can in future shows. We'll be back in a minute on the Overseas Radio Network. Viva Chile, viva Chile, a Chile quiero, chileno yo soy. Once again, welcome to Red Hot Chile. This is your host, Dr. John Cobin. And we are coming to you from a beautiful day in Viña del Mar. In fact, this whole week, except for the day it rained, has just been beautiful. It's amazing what the rain can do. And even in Santiago, it's a smoggy time of year. But after that rain, the smog is gone and those beautiful snow-covered mountains. If you're not used to living around mountains or beautiful beach scenery, you don't know what you're missing. If you're from Southern California or Italy, then you got a good idea. That's kind of what we got here in this neck of the woods. I want to alert people to something that is very special and I'm very excited about. That's going to be coming up around the 27th of September this year. It's called the Relocation Rally. It's kind of like an amazing race in Chile sort of event where people are going to be invited to come down or actually be paying to come down to orient themselves to the country. And you can find out about this on the blog site, escapeamericanow.info, as well as chile.escapeartist.com. Both sites are going to be featuring this amazing race that's going to be happening on September 27th. The idea is, again, to orient people to Chile, especially to Santiago. They're going to come down for a day, and there's not going to be any speakers, there's not going to be any program, there's no sales, anything like that involved to take up people's time. It's just going to be to show them the highlights of Santiago, and then we hope that they'll get a self-directed guide afterward that will take them to Viña del Mar, as well as maybe a spot in Valparaiso to see some of that, and perhaps pass by Freedom Orchard and pass through a wine tasting or a vineyard, even though it'll be September and very early spring, so there won't be anything too much growing right then, a little bit, but there'll be a time that you can take to taste some wine. So. These folks are strongly linked with us, and I'm really glad and appreciate their efforts. You'll be hearing more about them, but check it out on the website. Find out about how much it costs and how you can get involved. It's a great way to get to know about Chile. I mean, I know it's for a lot of people who are academics like me. It's easy to study up on stuff before you get there, but a lot of people just need the practical experience. In fact, everybody really does. Instead of just reading the books and checking out the blog and listening to the radio show, you might want to actually go on this trip. Show up in Santiago end of September. Again, it's just starting to get warm right then, but the mountains are going to be covered with beautiful snow over there. Viña is just absolutely gorgeous that time of year. Very little chance that you're going to have any rain or a problem when you're outside. So take your opportunity to see what the country's like a little bit, at least as far as the 2 biggest cities go, and check it out. Again, you can find out more about this amazing race event called Relocation Rally, September 27, 2014. at escapeamericanow.info or chile.escapeartist.com. All right, well, let's go right into a couple other things. I wanted to hit the slang words early on because, Luke Crowley is here waiting in the studio, but I wanted to get a few basic events out of the way in the first segment here before we bring him on so we're not pushed for time and anything. There are three words I wanted to, or actually four I wanted to talk about today for slang. One is the word raja. Now remember, I can't pronounce a double R, but that should be a rolled R when you hear it, folks. Raja, R-A-J-A. That means a person who's really beat or very tired. There's also the word la raja, which is exactly the same, except it has the article in front of it, la. And all of a sudden that word transforms into being amazing or excellent. Isn't that kind of odd? It really depends on some context. You got to listen close if you're going to get the difference between those two, right? And then rajado means a person who's very fast. Rajado would be kind of like the verb form, the participle, I guess. R-A-J-A-D-O, or R-A-J-A-D-A, very fast person. And then finally, the word rayado. Ese rayado. And you hear that a lot. My wife uses that a lot. And what it means is, rayado actually literally means like it's written on, like you put marks, like marked up with a magic marker or something. They use it for graffiti here in Chile, the word rayado. But in this context, it's going to mean a crazy person. It's not rayado. The idea is rayar la papa is kind of like peel the potato or just grate it, grate it down into little particles. And so when they use that term, they're meaning that person is crazy. They also have other funny ways of saying a person's crazy, like he's pelando los cables, which means you're stripping your wires, or peeling, they say in Spanish, peeling the wires. That's a real funny one. Or falta algunos palitos para el puente, which means he's lacking a few boards for his bridge. It's just a different way of saying it. we have funny ways of doing that in English too, I know. Anyway, those are your slang words for the week, so hope those are entertaining. Keep practicing, folks. You'll be hearing them a lot when you're down here, and you won't even know you'll be hearing them for the first few years, but after a while you realize these Chileans use them all the time. It's quite interesting how important slang is here. Well, last week I made a quick criticism of Simon Black and his writing about about deflation versus inflation. He got it totally wrong. He just made a mistake. But just to be fair to Simon, I mean, Simon is a great guy, a good, important person for the libertarian movement here. And so just to be balanced and not so that I just pick on him whenever he does something that isn't right, most of the time he's dead on the money. And so this week on Wednesday, I noticed he had a tale about Poland and how people, I think this is a good paraphrase, humans tend to ignore obvious problems or disaster signs. And I think that's so true about all of you folks who still reside in the land of the free, or Canada, or Western Europe. There is no way that you can violate the principles of economics, the basic market theory, forever. You cannot do it. Socialism does not work. Interventionism will always have its costs, and there will be a dramatic downturn up yonder at some point. I don't know why it hasn't happened already. I can't exactly explain why. I've kind of wondered if the money supply isn't just massively larger than I ever thought before, and therefore this QE thing has not brought it down to its knees yet. But they can only mask this for so long, folks. It will not be different this time around. The intervention will cause a tremendous disaster in many ways, just from the central bank alone. The central bank is one of the greatest, if not the greatest evil in the world today, besides perhaps the devil himself. And I think people need to be aware of that. There are also other manipulations, and if you have any desire to really wonder what's really so wrong about my country, if you're thinking of the U.S., Canada, etc., England, whatever, take a look at the post on the blog escapeamerica.info about is the grass greener, really greener on the other side, and see the 55 things that I came up with. I'm sure you can add probably another 20 to that list from your own experience. And you'll see why it's not just the central bank that you need to fear, it's many other things that are going down the drain. So hats off to Simon Black this week for a good article. He also tends to mention a lot Startup Chile, and there may be a little bit of a difference in the libertarian philosophy between the way he does things and the way I do, in some sense. For instance, I'm not into using government programs, and the Startup Chile is something the government offers for $40,000 that help people start a business here. I'd rather have them do that than other things, it's true. But I guess from my own libertarian point of view, I just don't like accepting state funds for anything, even if it's to start entrepreneurial activity here in Chile. Well, quicker than I thought, we've already come close to the end of the first segment. You're listening to Red Hot Chile. This is Dr. John Cobin. Hope you will write in or stay tuned or continue to be supporting on the Overseas Radio Network.